Why do we judge others so quickly? Why do we often form opinions about people we barely know? Have you ever looked at someone and made a decision in your mind without a single word spoken? It happens every day in small and big ways. A man walks into a room with torn clothes, and we assume he's careless. A woman speaks with confidence, and we call her arrogant. But is this really who they are? Or is it just our mind, projecting stories based on what it has known? Imagine this. You see two people talking. One is laughing loudly, the other is silent. You think the loud one is rude and the silent one is shy. Later, you find out the silent one was just tired and the loud one had just received good news after a hard day. Our judgments miss the truth more often than we realize. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where deep questions meet simple Buddhist truths. This video is not just about right or wrong. It's about seeing clearly. So if you're someone who wants to grow, reflect, and bring peace into your everyday life, you're in the right place. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribes. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps spread these timeless teachings to more people just like you. Judgment is natural, but what makes it harmful is how unaware we are of it. Buddhism doesn't say, never judge. Instead, it teaches us to understand what judgment is, where it comes from, and how to use it wisely. We judge not because we're evil, but because our minds are conditioned to compare, separate, and protect. The Buddha spoke often about the mind's habits. One of those habits is forming opinions based on appearances, emotions, and past experiences. This could be dangerous. It limits our understanding of others. Worse, it limits our compassion. To judge someone fairly, we must first understand ourselves. Why do we react that way? Why do we feel threatened or annoyed? Is it really about them, or something unresolved inside us? In this series, you will discover how Buddhist wisdom helps you become aware of your thoughts, reduce negative judgment, and replace it with understanding. It won't be instant, but every step you take will open your heart a little more. Let's begin this journey, not to stop judging completely, but to judge with kindness, clarity, and wisdom. The mirror of the mind, judging reflects the self. Sit down, child. Let your breath become slow and soft. Let the noise of your day begin to fade. I want to tell you something important. Something you may not have heard before, or perhaps you've heard it, but never truly understood. You judge others not because you see them clearly, but because you see yourself in them, without knowing it. When you call someone lazy, it may be your own fear of laziness speaking. When you say someone is too proud, it might be your own pride being reflected. Judgment, my dear, is not a window. It is a mirror. Most people look at others and think, this person is good. That one is bad. I like this one. I hate that one. But rarely do they stop and ask, why do I feel this way? This is the first mistake, and it is very common. It leads to misunderstanding, anger, even hate. Let me explain this to you with a simple story. Once, a student came to me, angry about another monk in the temple. He said, Master, he talks too much, always trying to show off his wisdom. He thinks he's better than everyone. I looked at the student quietly for a few moments. Then I asked, tell me, when someone praises you, how do you feel? He said, happy, of course. I nodded and replied, so maybe what bothers you is not the monks talking, but your own wish to be seen as wise. You see, the things that annoy us in others are often the things we haven't healed in ourselves. The judgments we make reveal our own wounds. They show where we are still stuck. So next time you judge someone, pause. Ask yourself, what does this say about me? This question is powerful. It can change your heart if you're honest. Now, let us talk about how the mind creates these judgments. The mind is like a painter, but instead of using colors and brushes, it uses thoughts, memories, and emotions. When you see someone, your mind quickly paints a picture. That picture is not the truth. It is just a creation based on what you already believe. Suppose you once met a person who lied to you. Your heart hurt. You remember the pain. Now, every time you meet someone with similar words or similar eyes, your mind says, be careful. This one is probably a liar too. This is not wisdom. It is memory disguised as caution. Buddha called this illusion. We do not see reality as it is. We see it through the dust of our past. This is why we must learn to clean the mirror of the mind. How we do this? By watching, by being still. When a thought comes, don't hold it tightly. Don't push it away either. Just observe. If your mind says, that man is selfish, stop and ask, what made me think that? Look deeper. Was it his words? His silence? His actions? Or just your feeling? When we begin to do this, something soft begins to grow inside us. It is called compassion. You see, when you realize your judgments come from your own wounds, you begin to feel kindness toward others. Because if you're struggling inside, maybe they are too. Maybe they're carrying pain you cannot see. Just like you. That is why I always say, judgment is easy. Understanding is hard. But understanding heals. Judgment only divides. Another story for you. There was once a farmer who had a stubborn ox. One day the ox would not move, no matter how hard he pulled. A traveler passed by and laughed. What a useless animal, he said. But what the traveler didn't know was that the ox had stepped on a thorn earlier that morning. Its foot was bleeding. It wasn't lazy. It was in pain. This is the truth about many people. We call them rude, or lazy, or selfish, but maybe they're simply hurting. We judge the behavior, but we do not see the reason behind it. This is why the Buddha taught us not to rush to judgment. Because when we do, we see only the surface. The wise person looks deeper. Now, child, let me ask you something. Have you ever been judged unfairly? Of course you have. Maybe someone called you something you are not. Maybe they assumed your intentions. Did it feel good? No. It felt painful. It felt unfair. So if you know how that feels, why give the same pain to others? This is the beginning of true wisdom, to treat others the way you wish to be treated. Not just in your actions, but in your thoughts. And yet, I know, it is not easy. Sometimes you judge without even knowing. That is why mindfulness is so important. When you walk, be aware of your steps. When you speak, be aware of your words. And when you think, be aware of your thoughts. Especially the silent ones. The quick ones. The ones that say, he's wrong. She's strange. I don't like him. Don't believe those thoughts too quickly. They're just clouds passing in the sky. Let them pass. Watch them. Don't become them. Remember this. You cannot see another person clearly until you see yourself clearly. And that takes time, courage, and honesty. One of the greatest teachings in Buddhism is this. Do not cling to opinions. Because opinions are like shadows. They change with the light. What you believe today might shift tomorrow. What you think about someone now might soften later when you learn more. So, practice gentleness. When a judgment arises, hold it lightly. Smile at it. Then ask yourself, is this helping me understand, or just feeding my ego? Because many times, judgment is just ego try to feel better. Ego says, I am better than them. Wisdom says, I don't know the full story. Let us aim for wisdom, not superiority. There is one last thing I want you to understand today. Judging others too quickly not only hurts them, it also steals your peace. When your mind is full of harsh opinions, it becomes restless, heavy. You cannot feel light or free when you carry so much mental weight. Every judgment is a little stone, and you're filling your pockets with them. So drop the stones. Let go. You don't need to label everyone. You don't need to decide who's good or bad all the time. Life is not black and white. It is full of colors, some bright, some dark, some in between. Learn to accept them all. If you truly want peace, begin by softening your thoughts. Begin by watching your mind. Begin by looking into your own mirror, not someone else's face. And then, slowly, as you see yourself more clearly, the world will begin to look clearer too. Now go, not to judge, but to observe, to understand, to grow. And remember, the mirror is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. Karma and perception. How past shapes our view of others. Come, sit with me under this old tree. It has seen many storms. Like your mind, it has heard many winds. Like your thoughts. And just like the roots of this tree reach deep beneath the surface, so do the roots of your judgments. You think you're judging what you see, but truly, you are judging what you stored inside. Let me ask you something. Have you ever disliked someone without a reason? Or maybe trusted a stranger instantly, even though you hardly knew them? Why does this happen? The answer lies in something very old, something powerful. It is called karma. Now, don't be afraid of that word. Karma is not punishment. Karma is not revenge. Karma simply means cause and effect. Whatever we do, think, or feel creates an effect, like a ripple in water. Over time, these ripples build patterns in a mind. These patterns decide how we see the world. You may meet a person who reminds your heart of someone from your past. Maybe the voice, the smile, or even the way they sit quietly. Without knowing it, your mind wakes up an old feeling, comfort, fear, anger, trust. And before you've spoken a word to this person, you've already judged them. This is karma working quietly behind your eyes. Buddha once said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." This doesn't mean the trees disappear when we close our eyes. It means the world we live in, the one made of meaning and emotion, is shaped by how we think. And how we think is deeply influenced by our past actions and experiences. Let me give you a simple story. A young monk went to fetch water from the river. On the way, he saw an old man sitting under a tree. The old man looked at him and smiled. The monk suddenly felt uncomfortable. He avoided eye contact, walked quickly past, and returned to the temple with a troubled heart. The next day, he confessed to the master, "I don't know why, but that old man unsettled me." The master smiled gently and asked, "Did he say anything to you?" "No," said the monk. "Did he do anything wrong?" "No." "Then what did he do?" "He just looked at me and smiled." The master closed his eyes for a moment, then said, "Then it is not his smile that disturbed you, but your own memory of something hidden." This is how karma shapes perception. It brings old seeds to bloom in new moments. You are not reacting to what is, you are reacting to what was. You see, the human mind doesn't always look with fresh eyes. It looks with filtered vision. These filters are made of impressions, things we've seen, heard, felt, feared, and believed. The more intense the past experience, the stronger the filter. Let's go deeper. Imagine you were once betrayed by someone you trusted. That pain becomes a wound. And without knowing, you begin to fear people who speak in the same way, or with the same kind of smile, or act too kindly. Your karma has planted fear inside you. And now, you judge others through the lens of that fear. That person in front of you may be honest, but your mind says, "Be careful." And if you listen without awareness, you will judge unfairly. So what do? How we stop this? We don't stop karma. That is not the way. Karma is like a river. It flows naturally, but we can become aware of the river. We can watch it. And when we see its patterns, we are no longer pulled blindly by them. Buddhism teaches a gentle way. Mindfulness. When you feel a strong judgment rising, pause. Don't act on it. Just breathe. Then ask yourself, where is this coming from? Is it really about this person? Or is it about my past? Many times, you'll see a memory float up. A voice from childhood. A fear from yesterday. An old hurt. That's when you know it's not about them. It's about you. And when you know this, something magical happens. The judgment softens. Compassion begins to rise. Not just for the other person, but for yourself too. Because you realize you're not bad for judging. You're simply carrying old pain. Judging others harshly is often a sign of a mind that has not healed yet. A heart that has been hurt before. A soul that is still learning how to trust again. Now, let me tell you a deeper truth. Sometimes, our karmic impressions don't come only from this life. They come from lives before, like old dreams that have not been fully awakened. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt like you've known them forever? Or disliked someone without a clear reason? This could be old karma reappearing, unfinished lessons, unresolved feelings, or patterns waiting to be completed. But again, don't be afraid. Karma is not a jail. It is a teacher. It brings us the same lesson again and again, not to punish, but to help us finally understand. When you become aware of this, judgment turns into reflection, hatred turns into curiosity, and fear slowly turns into peace. Buddha taught that karma can be purified. How? Through awareness, through right action, and through compassion. So the next time you judge someone, ask yourself, I seeing clearly? Or am I seeing through a crack in a dusty window? Clean the window. How? By meditating on your reactions. By being honest with your feelings. By forgiving your past. By understanding your mind. And slowly, your judgments become softer, more accurate, more human. You no longer say, he is bad. You say, he is acting from pain. You no longer say, she is fake. You say, she may be protecting herself. You no longer say, I can't stand him. You say, what is this feeling teaching me about myself? This is not weakness. This is deep strength. The strength to not react like a machine. The strength to question your inner world before passing sentence on someone else. You see, the purpose of Buddhist wisdom is not to make you silent or passive. It is to help you see clearly. And when you see clearly, your judgments become more loving, more truthful, and more helpful. Let me leave you with one final story. Two monks were traveling together. They reached a river. A woman stood there, afraid to cross. Without hesitation, the older monk carried her across. The younger monk said nothing. Later that night, the younger monk finally burst out. We are not supposed to touch women. Why did you carry her? The older monk smiled. I left her by the river. But you are still carrying her in your mind. This is how karma works. It's not just the action, it's the lingering impression. You may meet many people in lives, but what you carry from them, judgment, fear, love, understanding, that is up to you. That is your karma. So choose wisely, judge slowly, see deeply, and above all, walk gently. Kulmi, sit here. Let me share something with you. You judge others, don't you? Sometimes harshly, sometimes too fast. You look at someone's clothes, someone's tone, someone's silence, and your mind jumps to a conclusion. But have you ever asked yourself, why do I judge this way? Why does my mind react like this? The answer lies in something very old, something the Buddha himself pointed out clearly. He called them the 5 hindrances. These are not outside enemies. They're the dust on the mirror. They're the clouds that cover the sun. They're the forces that quietly shape your thoughts, your reactions, and yes, your judgments. Let me tell you about these 5 one by one. But listen slowly. Let the words settle in your heart, like tea leaves in water. This knowledge is not meant to rush. It's meant to transform. First hindrance, sensual desire. This one is very sneaky. It's the pull of pleasure. The desire to see something beautiful, to hear something pleasant, to taste something delicious, to feel something soft, or to imagine something joyful. Now, you may ask, what's wrong with pleasure? Nothing, child. But when the desire becomes strong, it blinds you. Let me explain. Suppose you meet someone attractive. You are drawn to their appearance, their charm. You see them with soft eyes. Even their mistakes seem small. You judge them kindly, not because they are kind, but because your desire makes you gentle. You are not seeing them clearly. You are seeing your own longing. Or take the opposite. Suppose someone lacks the qualities you desire. They don't look the way you prefer, don't talk the way you like. You judge them as rude, boring, or unworthy. Were they truly like that? Or is your desire not being fulfilled, and so your mind turns against them? This is the first hindrance. It doesn't let you see people as they are. It paints them with colors your craving chooses. And that is not wisdom. Second hindrance, ill will. Now comes a storm. Ill will. The tightness in your chest when you dislike someone. The harsh thoughts. The sharp judgments. Ill will is like poison in your tea. Even if the tea is pure, the poison spoils it. When your heart holds anger, resentment, or dislike, even kind people appear annoying. Even small mistakes feel unforgivable. You see through the eyes of bitterness. You've felt this before, haven't you? Maybe someone didn't return your kindness. Maybe they ignored you. Maybe they spoke without thinking. And now your mind creates a whole story about them. You judge them again and again, even when they're not around. But tell me, who will suffer more? Them or you? Buddha said, holding on to anger is like holding a hot coal with the intention of throwing at someone. You are the one who gets burnt. Ill clouds your judgment. It hardens your heart. And once the heart hardens, compassion cannot flow. So how do you soften it? You sit. You breathe. You forgive. You remind yourself, just like me, they are learning. Just like me, they make mistakes. Let the poison leave your cup. Third hindrance, sloth and torpor. Now this one is quiet, lazy, heavy. You won't even notice it most times, but it affects how you judge. When your mind is dull, sleepy, or uninterested, you become careless in how you see others. You don't bother to look deeper. You see a surface and assume it's the whole ocean. You judge people by labels: rich, poor, loud, quiet, old, young. You don't pause. You don't wonder. And without wonder, there is no wisdom. Sloth and torpor make your mind slow. It's like having mud in your eyes. You don't react with emotion like in the first two hindrances. Instead, you just don't care enough to see clearly. This is also a form of judgment: cold, dismissive, detached. When you feel this heaviness, do something simple. Stand up, walk, wash your face, listen to a bird, drink some water. The world is still here, calling you to awaken. The moment you awaken, your vision becomes clear again. Fourth hindrance: restlessness and worry. Now, imagine a monkey jumping from tree to tree. That is your mind when it is restless. It cannot sit still. It cannot focus. It judges quickly because it doesn't have the patience to understand. Restlessness fills the mind with noise. You meet someone and immediately your mind starts. What do they think of me? Are they better than me? Do they like me? Will they betray me? Should I trust them? So many questions. And from those questions, you form conclusions. You judge not based on reality, but based on fear and anxiety. Worry is like a fog. It keeps you from seeing what's in front of you. It pulls you into a future that hasn't come. And while you're lost in that future, you misjudge the present. If you want to judge less, first you must calm this restless mind. Breathe in, breathe out, anchor yourself in the now. The truth is never loud. It whispers, and only a still mind can hear it. Fifth hindrance: doubt. This one is deep. It's not the healthy kind of doubt, the one that asks good questions. No, this is the paralyzing kind. The kind that says, I don't know what's true, so nothing is true. It makes you question everyone's intention. It makes you doubt your own heart. When doubt takes over, you trust no one. You become suspicious of kindness. You judge everyone through the lens of fear. What do they really want? Are they pretending? Will they hurt me? Even love feels dangerous when you live in this shadow. But listen carefully. Doubt is not always your enemy. It is a signal that your heart is seeking truth. Don't run from it. Sit with it. Investigate. Ask, is this doubt coming from wisdom, or is it just fear in disguise? A sincere question can lead to freedom. But when doubt becomes your home, it becomes a prison. Now do you see? These five: desire, ill will, dullness, restlessness, and doubt. They are not just states of mind. They are the filters through which you judge the world. And until you learn to remove the filter, you will not see people as they truly are. Buddhism does not tell you to stop seeing. It tells you to clean the lens. And the way to clean it is through awareness. Watch your desire rise. Feel your anger bubble. Notice your sleepiness creep in. Sense the restlessness dance in your chest. Recognize doubt whispering in your ear. Don't push them away. Don't pretend they aren't there. Just see them. That saying, that simple saying, is the beginning of awakening. Because the moment you say, this is just desire, or this is anger, it loses its power. It stops driving your judgment. You become free. Let me give you one final image. Imagine a still lake. If the water is calm, you can see the reflection of the moon. But if the water is stirred, the reflection disappears. The moon is still there, but your vision is clouded. The five hindrances stir your water. When you calm them, you don't just see others better. You see yourself. And when you see yourself clearly, your judgments become soft, wise, and full of understanding. So the next time you feel yourself judging someone, pause. Ask yourself, which hindrance is speaking right now? That simple question can change your lives. And that is the way of wisdom. Right view, wrong judgment, misusing wisdom. Sit down, dear one. Breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Let your eyes soften. I want to speak to you not from a high mountain or behind a temple wall, but like a friend sitting under a tree with you, sharing something quietly, truthfully, and gently. Why I speak today is not just for monks. It is for anyone who walks among people, who lives with thoughts, who sees and hears and feels. It is for you. You may think, I know what's right. I see things clearly. I judge based on facts, not feelings. But let me ask you something. How do you know the facts are pure? How do you know your view is not shaped by old wounds, hidden fears, or even pride dressed in silence? This is the story I often tell. There was once a wise monk who had studied scriptures for years. One day, he walked through a village and saw a man sitting under a tree, doing nothing. The monk thought, how lazy he is. The Buddha teaches effort. This man is wasting lives. But what the monk did not know is that this man had just lost his mother that morning. He was not lazy, he was grieving. The monk had right knowledge, but the wrong judgment. That is what we must learn today. You can have right view and still judge wrongly. Right view, in Buddhism, is one of the Eightfold Path's most important steps. It means to see things as they really are. Not as we wish, not as we fear, not as we assume. But even people who learn about right view, who meditate, who read, who pray, they can fall into the trap of using wisdom as a weapon. Let me explain. Sometimes we learn Buddhist teachings and begin to feel we are wiser than others. We start pointing out people's attachments, their ego, their ignorance. We say, he is full of desire, or she is not mindful, or they are caught in illusion. We do this thinking we are simply seeing the truth. But the truth, when not spoken with compassion, becomes a stone. When we forget kindness, even truth can cut like a knife. You may ask, but Zen Master, if I see someone doing wrong, should I stay silent? Shouldn't I speak out? And yes, you can speak. But first look deeply. Is your voice coming from care? Or from a hidden wish to feel superior? Are you helping? Or are you proving? There's a story about a layperson who came to a monk and said, I have read all the sutras. I understand dependent origination, impermanence, and emptiness. I know the mind. The monk smiled gently and said, then go serve tea to the angry neighbor who hurt you last year. Go do that without judgment. That will show your understanding. Do you see, my dear listener? Wisdom is not about knowing. It is about becoming. You can know the teachings, but unless they soften your heart, they have not yet entered you. Many people judge others for their anger, without understanding the pain beneath it. Many judge for greed, without knowing the hunger that person once suffered. Others judge for attachment, without realizing the deep loneliness behind it. We judge from the surface, but life is never only surface. So, how do we use wisdom rightly? First, we pause. Always pause before you judge. That space gives us power. Second, we reflect. Am I judging because I truly care, or because I want to be right? Third, we remember the Buddha's words. Before speaking, ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If all three are not present, let silence be your answer. Sometimes, people use mindfulness to escape emotion. They say, I am detached, and then judge others for feeling too much. But detachment is not coldness. True detachment means freedom from clinging, but not freedom from compassion. If someone is struggling, you do not say, you should not suffer. Suffering is illusion. That is truth misused. You sit beside them. You hold their hand. You listen without fixing. That is truth lived. There's a famous Zen phrase, not knowing is most intimate. What does this mean? It means when you let go of needing to judge or label, you become closer to life. You stop standing above people and begin walking with them. I once had a student who said, Master, I see so clearly now. I know who is deluded and who is not. I looked at him and said, then your eyes are still cloudy. The clearer your vision becomes, the less you will divide. And he asked, but how do I live among people who act wrongly? I answered, with boundaries, yes. But without hatred. With firmness, yes. But without inner poison. With clarity, yes. But without the chains of judgment. Judgment hardens us. Understanding softens us. Judgment creates distance. Compassion brings closeness. You may feel proud when you spot someone's weakness. But true strength is to protect that weakness. Not expose it. Not mock it. Not feel better because of it. The Buddha never walked past a broken soul and said, you're wrong. He said, You're human. You see, the more you understand the Dharma, the quieter you become. You stop correcting everyone. You stop needing to explain. You stop proving your worth. You simply become a calm presence, like a still lake that reflects everything without grabbing it. So if you truly want to judge someone, judge them with your love. Judge them by asking, how can I help them? Or, if you cannot help, then at least do not harm. We all fall. We all forget, even those who seem to know everything. The Buddha reminded us that even his monks argued and made mistakes. So were we to think we are better judges? Let me end today's sharing with a small thought. When you look at a flower, do you judge its shape, size, or color? Or do you simply enjoy its presence? What if you looked at people the same way? Right view must lead to a right heart. Only then will your wisdom become healing, not hurting. Sit with this, dear one, not just in your mind, but in your breath, your words, and your eyes. The next time you catch yourself judging someone, pause. Smile gently within. And remember, right view is not just about seeing clearly. It's about seeing with love. We'll speak again soon. Until then, walk kindly and judge gently. The power of intent. Why motive matters more than action. Sit down, my dear friend. Let's talk for a while. The world outside is always busy judging what people do. Someone gives money, we call them kind. Someone walks away, we call them cold. But do we ever ask, why do they do it? Today I will share with you something very important, something simple but often forgotten. In the eyes of Buddhism, the intention, the motive behind an action, is more important than the action itself. Let me begin with a little story. There once was a monk who walked every morning through a village. One day, he saw a man throwing food on the ground. People around yelled at the man, calling him wasteful, arrogant, cruel. But the monk quietly walked up and asked, "Why are you throwing food?" The man said, "Master, this is for the ants. I leave this food every day so they don't starve." The monk smiled and bowed. The crowd went silent. Their eyes had judged, but their hearts had not listened. Intent is like the wind. You can't see it, but you can feel it in everything. My friend, imagine this. Two people give a gift. One gives with love, the other gives just to show off. The gift may look the same, but is it really the same? No. One carries warmth. The other carries emptiness. This is the power of intent. In Buddhism, intention is called satana. The Buddha said, "It is volition, monks, that I call karma." What does this mean? It means karma is not just the result of what we do. It begins inside us and a reason why we do it. Let's go deeper. Suppose someone speaks very sweetly to you. Their words are soft, their voice calm. But inside, they may be lying, tricking, or hiding a cruel thought. On the other hand, someone else may speak sharply, with firm words, but their heart is pure. They're warning you, protecting you. So I ask you, which one is good? Which one is true? You see now, this world is full of people doing things. But it's the reason behind their actions that carries weight in the eyes of the Dharma. Even in your own life, think of the times you acted out of fear, anger, love, or peace. The feeling behind your action shaped its energy. The slap given in rage and a slap in play are not the same. A hug to manipulate and a hug to comfort are worlds apart. Intent guides energy. Intent becomes karma. Intent becomes your future. Let me share another small example. The child breaks a vase. One mother scolds with rage. Another mother holds the child close, saying, "It's okay. You didn't mean it." The vase is broken in both cases. But the child's heart breaks only in one. So many of our problems come not from what happened, but from how we were judged. Not understood, just judged. And that happens when people ignore intent. If we learn to pause before judging and ask, what was their true reason? We might open the door to compassion. A man may steal food, but what if he's starving? A woman may shout, but what if she's in pain? A friend may ignore you, but what if they're struggling silently? When we only look at actions, we miss the story. But when we look at intent, we begin to understand. Intent does not make a bad action good, but it does show us the human behind it. Let me tell you what the Buddha did. There was a man named Angulimala. He was a murderer. Yes, a killer. He had killed many. But when the Buddha met him, he saw something deeper. He saw that Angulimala had been deceived, misguided, and full of regret. The Buddha did not say, "You are your actions." He said, "You can change your intent." And Angulimala became a monk, a peaceful, kind man. Not perfect, but pure in heart. So you see, action can hurt, but intent can heal. In your life too, don't only look at what people did to you. Ask yourself, why did they do it? Were they scared? Were they lost? Were they weak? You don't have to accept wrong actions, but you can learn to see with gentle eyes. That is true strength. That is the Zen way. Let me tell you something else. Your own growth depends on your intent too. You may meditate every day, but if you do it to show off, it is empty. You may fast, but if you do it to punish your body, it is harmful. But if you do these with love, with devotion, with joy, then even the smallest act becomes sacred. Intent is the seed. The action is the fruit. Plant with care. Some of the most painful wounds in life come from being misunderstood. Someone thought your silence was pride. Someone thought your tears were weakness. Someone judged your kindness as fake. But only you know your true intent. That is why you must not judge others too fast. Ask yourself, do I know the full story? Do I see their heart? Am I judging their action? Or am I seeking to understand their intent? And in return, ask yourself before acting, why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? Is my intent pure? Because remember, even a kind action with selfish intent is not true kindness. The Buddha always reminded us, before you speak, think, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? That is how you align your actions with right intent. When you understand intent, you stop reacting blindly. You begin to respond with awareness. You become softer, wiser, and less quick to anger. You judge less. You love more. You listen deeply. And slowly, peace enters your life. So now, my dear friend, as you walk through your day, remember, don't just ask, what did they do? Ask, why did they do it? That is how the wise judge others, with eyes that see the invisible. The action may be small, but the heart behind it, that is where truth lives. Let's learn to live from that place. Let us see the world not with harsh judgment, but with open eyes. Intent is invisible, yes. But if you become still enough, gentle enough, kind enough, you will feel it. And once you do, you will never judge the same again. Silent judgments. How thoughts become chains. Imagine a quiet pond on a calm morning. The water is still, and you can see your reflection perfectly. Now imagine someone throws a small stone into that pond. What happens? Ripples spread across the surface, disturbing the clear reflection. In the same way, our mind is like that calm pond when it is peaceful. But every thought, especially judgment, is like that stone. It creates ripples that disturb our clarity. Most of the time, judgments are silent. We think them quietly, without speaking out loud. We judge someone's behavior, their words, their looks, even their silence, all inside our minds. Because these judgments are silent, they feel harmless. But over time, these silent judgments build chains around our hearts and minds. When you judge silently, you are trapping yourself. You may think you are free, but your thoughts are limiting you. It is as if you are in a cage made of invisible bars. The cage is your own making, built by countless judgments that say, this person is wrong, that person is bad, or I am better than them. These thoughts chain you, and you may not even realize it. The Zen Master says, your mind is not your enemy, but it becomes your prison if you do not watch it. Judgments are natural. The mind wants to understand and make sense of the world. But when judgment stops at criticism and dislike, it hurts you more than anyone else. Think about this. When you hold a silent judgment against someone, what feelings arise inside you? Maybe irritation, anger, or sadness. These feelings disturb your peace. You carry the weight of these silent judgments everywhere you go. They affect how you see the world and how you treat others. Sometimes, these silent judgments are so strong that they shape how you act. You might avoid people you've judged, or you may smile, but keep your distance, because your mind has already decided they are not worthy. You might think this protects you, but it also closes your heart. The Zen way teaches us to be aware of these silent judgments. The first step is to notice when your mind is making these judgments. Don't push them away or pretend they don't exist. Instead, watch them with kindness and curiosity. When a judgment arises, ask yourself, is this judgment true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Often, you will find that judgments are just quick stories your mind tells, based on fears, past experiences, or misunderstandings. For example, if you see someone acting impatiently, your mind might say they are rude. But if you look deeper, you might discover they are tired or stressed. Your silent judgment was only a surface story, not the whole truth. Learning to catch these silent judgments is like training a wild horse. At first, it runs freely, pulling you everywhere. But with patience, you learn to guide it gently, so it becomes your friend instead of your enemy. When you become aware of your silent judgments, you create space in your mind. This space is freedom. Freedom from the chains you didn't know you were carrying. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment and ignorance. Silent judgments are a form of attachment to ideas, to labels, to how you think others should be. Ignorance is not seeing clearly the true nature of people and situations. When you break free from silent judgments, your heart opens. You start to see others with fresh eyes, not as problems or threats, but as human beings with struggles and joys, just like you. This doesn't mean you have to like everything or everyone. It means you hold your judgments lightly, with wisdom. You understand that your mind creates stories, and you don't need to believe all of them. Meditation is a powerful tool to help with this. When you meditate, you practice watching your thoughts without getting caught up in them. You become the calm pond again, seeing clearly without ripples. Try this. When a judgment arises, take a deep breath and gently say to yourself, "This is just a thought." Don't follow it, don't push it away. Just observe it and let it go. Over time, this practice loosens the chains of silent judgments. You feel lighter, more peaceful. You smile more, and your relationships deepen because you see people beyond your mind's quick stories. Remember, silent judgments are like shadows. They may seem dark and big, but they disappear when you bring the light of awareness. The Zen Master reminds us, do not believe everything your mind tells you. Question, watch, and be free. In this freedom, your heart becomes soft and your mind clear. You begin to live with compassion, first for yourself, then for others. This is the path from judgment to understanding. It is a journey of awareness, patience, and love. And as you walk this path, know that every small step matters. Even noticing one silent judgment today is a victory. So, be gentle with yourself. Be curious about your mind. Break your chains one thought at a time. Your peace is waiting behind those silent judgments. The choice to be free is always yours. Stories we tell ourselves, judgment through assumption. Ah, dear traveler of the mind and heart, sit quietly for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish and listen deeply, not with your ears, but with your inner eye. What do you see? Often, what we see is not the true nature of others. Instead, we see stories that our mind creates, sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of habit. Have you noticed how your mind weaves tales about people without facts? When you see someone smile, you may think they must be happy. But what if their smile hides pain? When you see someone frown, you may say they are angry, yet inside, they might be worried or lost. These stories your mind tells are assumptions. They fill the gaps where we have no real knowledge. In the way of Zen, we call this the illusion of stories. It is as if your mind is a storyteller who never pauses to ask, is this true? The stories come quickly, like leaves blown by the wind. But these leaves cover the clear sky of reality. Imagine a man walking in a marketplace. He seems rough and rude. Your mind instantly says he is a bad man. But the truth might be that he is tired, hungry, or carrying a heavy burden in his heart. You do not see this. Your story replaces the real person. Why does the mind do this? Because it wants to protect itself. It wants to make sense of the world quickly to feel safe. But in doing so, it often mistakes shadows for substance. These stories become a veil that blinds us. We judge not the person, but the image our mind creates. This is the root of many misunderstandings and conflicts. In Buddhism, this is called Maya, the illusion that clouds our perception. To see clearly, one must learn to recognize these stories and gently let them go. How can we do this? It begins with awareness. The first step is to notice when your mind is telling a story about someone. You might catch yourself thinking, she is selfish, or he is lazy. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, do I really know this? What do I actually see? When you watch your mind this way, you become like a wise observer, not a judge. You begin to see that thoughts and judgments are not facts but clouds passing across the sky of your mind. In this way, compassion grows. When you realize that you too are misunderstood and often judged by others, you soften. You stop holding tightly to your stories and open your heart to the truth beneath appearances. There's an old Zen story about a farmer. One day, his horse ran away. The neighbor said, "How unlucky you are." The farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned with another wild horse. The neighbor said, "How lucky you are." The farmer replied, "Maybe." This continued with events that seemed good or bad, but the farmer stayed calm, not telling a story about what was right or wrong. He just accepted what was. The lesson is this: when you stop creating stories about others, you live more peacefully. You do not rush to label people as good or bad. You see things as they are, changing, uncertain, and full of possibility. Another way stories trick us is through assumption about others' intentions. We think they did that to hurt me, but often, people act out of their own confusion, pain, or ignorance, not with the goal to harm. We cannot see their heart. We only see our own pain reflected back. Buddha taught us to remember that all beings want happiness and to avoid suffering. Even those who hurt us are caught in their own stories. When you hold this thought, your judgment softens, and forgiveness becomes easier. You might wonder, but how do I protect myself if I do not judge others? The answer lies in clarity, not in harsh judgment. See actions clearly, understand consequences, but do not add the heavy burden of negative stories that close your heart. Judgment through assumption builds walls between people. It isolates. Wisdom built on clear seeing builds bridges that connect. In practice, every time you notice a judgment forming, gently remind yourself, this is just my story, not the full truth. Let this become a habit. Over time, your mind becomes lighter, your heart more open. Ask yourself often, what story am I telling myself right now? Is it helpful? Is it true? Is it kind? This is not easy at first. The mind loves to tell stories. It finds comfort there. But like any habit, with gentle practice, you can change this. Meditation helps. When you sit in silence, you see your thoughts arise and pass away like clouds. You learn that you're not your thoughts, nor your stories. You are the sky itself, vast, clear, and still. From his place of stillness, you meet others with fresh eyes, free from the dust of assumption. Remember, Zen Master Huang said, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. This means do not cling to fixed ideas or stories about others, but yourself. Let go of all labels and see what remains. That which remains is the true nature of all beings, pure, boundless, and free. So the next time your mind rushes to tell a story about someone, pause. Breathe deeply, smile softly, and remind yourself, this is only a story, not the whole truth. Walk gently with this understanding. Let the stories fade like morning mist under the warm sun of awareness. This is how wisdom grows. This is how compassion flows. This is the path of peace. Compassion over criticism, a Buddhist redirection. Come closer, my child. Seat. Yes, right here under this tree. Let the breeze calm your mind. Let me ask you something. When you see someone make a mistake, maybe they say something wrong or act in a way you don't like, what is the first thought that appears in your mind? Be honest. Do you feel irritated? Do you shake your head silently? Maybe you even tell someone later, look what they did. Or perhaps, inside, you feel a little bit better than them, like you would never do something like that. You're not alone. This is what most people do. It's very normal. The mind, like a quick wind, rushes to label others wrong, foolish, selfish, arrogant. Judgment comes like a shadow, sudden and silent. But today, I want to show you something different. I want to show you how to soften the sharp edges of judgment and turn them into something beautiful. I want to teach you the redirection from criticism to compassion. Let's begin with a simple story. Long ago, there was a monk who had a younger brother. The brother had a habit of stealing from the monastery kitchen. Rice, fruit, sometimes even sweets meant for offerings. The other monks grew angry. They told the abbot, "You must punish him or ask him to leave. He brings shame to our monastery." But the abbot smiled gently and said, "I cannot send him away. If I do, who will show him kindness when he needs it the most?" The monks were confused. "But he steals. He lies." And the abbot replied, "Yes, and that is why he needs our compassion, not our anger. Do you see? Compassion is not about ignoring someone's mistakes. It is about understanding why those mistakes happen and choosing to respond with wisdom rather than heat. You may wonder, why should I respond with compassion? Won't people take advantage of me? Won't they think I'm weak? But compassion is not weakness, dear one. True compassion is strong. It doesn't bend to insult, and it doesn't collapse under pressure. It's like a mountain, calm, still but unshakable. Criticism is easy. It takes no effort to find fault. Anyone can point at a crack in a wall, but not everyone can build that wall. Compassion is the art of building, not breaking. And you must ask yourselves, do you want to break people, or do you want to help them rise? Now look inside. When you judge someone harshly, what do you feel afterward? A little tension? A little tightness in the chest? That is not peace. That is the residue of judgment. Even if you feel right, there's still something unsettled, something that doesn't feel clean. But when you look at someone with eyes of compassion, even if they did wrong, something else arises in your heart. Not just softness, but strength. Not just kindness, but courage. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love." This is the eternal law. The same is true for judgment. Harsh judgment only grows more judgment. But gentle understanding that can transform even the hardest heart. Let me give you another example. A woman came to the monastery. Her face was full of anger. She said, "My neighbor always gossips about me. I never speak to her, and still she spreads lies. I hate her. Eat trudy dough. How can I stop her?" I gave her a task. I said, "For the next 7 days, bring her food. Fresh, warm food. And say nothing more than 'May you be well.'" She looked shocked. "Feed her. She lies about me." I nodded. "Yes, feed her. And watch." A week passed. When she returned, her eyes were different. Softer. She said, on the first day, she looked confused. On the third day, she said thank you. On the fifth day, she began to cry. She said she'd been lonely, jealous, and ashamed. Do you understand what happened here? Compassion melts walls. Judgment builds them. But compassion must be practiced, like walking a path slowly, step by step. Sometimes, your mind will want to go back to judgment. It will whisper, "They don't deserve kindness." That voice comes from pain, either yours or theirs. But remember, someone's poor behavior does not give you a reason to abandon your own wisdom. You do not show compassion because the other person is good. You show compassion because you choose to be good. And that is what separates a person who suffers from their own emotions from a person who is free. Let's also be careful with one thing: false compassion. Sometimes people say, "I forgive them," but inside they still hold a grudge. Their tone is cold. Their face is tight. That is not compassion, it is pride in disguise. True compassion doesn't pretend to forget. It understands deeply and then lets go. It doesn't ignore pain. It embraces it, transforms it. It says, "I see you're suffering, and even if I don't agree with your actions, I wish you peace." That is the Buddha's path. That is the heart of awakening. Now, let's look at judgment from another angle. Have you ever judged someone and later realized you were wrong? Perhaps you thought someone was rude, but then learned they had lost a loved one. Maybe you thought someone was lazy, but found out they were sick. Our judgments are often blind. We do not see the full picture. We see only one frame of the movie, and think we know the whole story. Compassion waits before drawing conclusions. It gives space. It listens. When you learn to pause before you speak, before you react, you create space for understanding. And in that space, love can enter. There's a reason Buddhist monks meditate every morning, not just to calm the mind, but to cleanse it of unnecessary judgment. When a mind is calm, it sees things as they are, not as it wishes them to be or fears they are. You too can practice this. Every time you feel yourself ready to criticize, ask, do I understand the full story? Ask, what might this person be carrying that I cannot see? Ask, what would happen if I chose to be kind instead of right? These questions are not weakness, they are wisdom. They open the gates of the heart. And one final thing, my child, turn this compassion toward yourself as well. Sometimes, we judge others because deep inside, we are judging ourselves. We carry shame, regret, insecurity. And to hide it, we point fingers outward. But the more compassion you give to others, the more you soften your own heart. You begin to heal from within. The Buddha never asked people to be perfect. He asked them to be awake, to live with awareness, to grow slowly, and to treat others as fellow travelers, each carrying invisible burdens. So next time someone acts in a way you dislike, pause. Take a breath. And remember this. You have the power to respond with understanding instead of anger, with love instead of judgment. That, my dear one, is the first step toward peace. Now go gently, and let your compassion light the way. Sit down, my dear one. Let us speak about something that lives in every heart but is rarely seen clearly, judgment. Not the judgment of a court, not the judgment of rules, but the quiet whispers in your mind when you see a stranger, a friend, or even yourselves. You may not notice it, but your mind is always talking. It says, she is too loud, or he is not respectful, or I am not good enough. This is judgment. It hides in your thoughts. It wears many clothes. Sometimes it looks like fear, sometimes pride, sometimes worry, but always it makes the world a little less kind, a little less true. Now listen carefully. Judging is not always bad. To know the difference between fire and water, you must judge. To choose safety over danger, you must judge. But what we call judging in our hearts is not always this wise. It is often automatic, harsh, fast, and false. That is what we must see with clear eyes. You ask me, Master, how do I stop judging people? I smile, because that is not the right question. The right question is, how can I see things clearly, without the thought of opinion? That is the practice of non-judgmental awareness. And it is not about turning your mind off. It is about turning the light on. Let me tell you a simple thing. When you see a tree, you say, this tree is tall. That is not a problem. You are observing. You are using your mind. But when you say, this tree is better than that one is ugly, your mind has started to add something extra. It has put a label, a value, a judgment. Now, your view is not clean. It is tinted with opinion. In Buddhism, we call this liking and disliking, raga and vi. These are powerful forces in the mind. They pull you toward some things and push you away from others. When we see through raga and vi, we see with desire or with aversion, not with truth. The Buddha taught us to become aware of this, to catch it gently and release it. Like watching a cloud pass through the sky without trying to stop it. Let's take an example from daily lives. You walk into a room. Someone is sitting alone in the corner. They do not greet you. Your mind may say, they are rude. They must not like me. But maybe they are sad. Maybe they are shy. Maybe they did not see you. You do not know. But your mind pretends that it does. This is judgment. To practice non-judgmental awareness is to say, I notice what is happening. I feel the urge to judge. But I will wait. I will breathe. I will see more clearly. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it is a deep training. You must practice again and again. Each moment gives you a chance. A person walks by quickly. You notice your mind forming story. A child cries in public. You notice your impatience rising. You don't fight the thought. You simply observe it. You say, oh, there's the judging again. And then you let it go. This does not mean you become blind to truth. If someone harms others, we do not ignore it. But we do not rush to call them evil. We ask what caused this. Maybe pain, maybe ignorance, maybe fear, and we deal with the action wisely, but not with hatred. You see, non-judgmental awareness is not weakness. It is strength. It allows you to respond instead of react, to understand instead of attack. It opens the heart and calms the mind. There is a beautiful teaching in Zen. It says, when you sit quietly and watch the mind, it is like a muddy pond. At first, the water is cloudy, but if you don't stir it, slowly it clears. Your judgments are like mud. They make your inner water cloudy. But if you don't follow them, if you just sit and breathe and observe, the mud settles. The truth becomes visible. People think clarity comes from thinking harder. But true clarity comes from less thinking, just quiet observation. The more you try to label everything, the less you see. But when you drop the labels, the world opens up. Have you ever sat with someone in silence, without judging them or tried to impress them? In that space, you begin to really feel them. You see their eyes. You feel their energy. That is the beginning of true connection. Judgment blocks this connection. Awareness invites it. I once met a man who used to gossip about everyone. He judged people in every sentence. But when I asked him to sit alone for 10 minutes without judging anyone, not even himself, he could not do it. His mind was restless. He was afraid of silence. But slowly, with practice, he learned to just sit and breathe. And one day, he said to me, "Master, for the first time, I saw someone walk by, and I didn't feel the need to say anything. I just saw them." That is freedom. Freedom is not in controlling others. It is in not being controlled by your own mind. Judgment is a kind of control. It makes you feel powerful, but is a false power. Real strength comes when you can see someone's pain and not rush to define it. Just hold space for it. This is what the Buddha meant when he said, right view. To see things as they are, not as you fear, or want, or assume. Just as they are. So now, every time you catch yourself judging, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what am I really seeing? What I really know? Most times, you will realize you're only seeing a small piece. And that awareness alone begins to soften your heart. Eventually, with time, you'll not need to say, don't judge. It will happen naturally. You will just observe. You will just feel, like watching a river flow, without trying to hold the water in your hands. And this, my dear one, is the essence of non-judgmental awareness. It is the way of clarity, the way of peace, the way of truth. Sit with this, practice gently, and slowly, you will no longer see people as labels, but as living, breathing beings, just like you. You will stop asking, is this person good or bad? And start wondering, what has this person been through? That is compassion. That is wisdom. That is Buddhism. And when you see the world this way, even your own heart becomes a softer place to live in. Let this be your practice, not just on a meditation cushion, but in a marketplace, in your home, in your thoughts. Wherever you go, let awareness walk with you. Not to judge, but to understand. Not to label, but to love. Not to fear, but to see. This is the true path. And you, dear one, are already on it. The role of mindfulness in understanding others. Sit down, my child. Let me tell you something not written in many books, but carried in the breath of stillness. You have asked, how do I understand others? And I smiled gently, not because the question is small, but because it is big, very big. To understand another person, you must learn to be present, fully present. And that is what we call mindfulness. Now listen carefully. Most people don't really see each other. They only see their own thoughts. When you look at someone, what do you truly see? Their face? Their clothes? The way they talk? Or do you see a cloud of ideas floating in your mind? Ideas like he's lazy, she's proud, they're better than me, I don't like him. These are not the person. These are your thoughts, your judgments, your memories, and your fear. To understand someone, you must first learn to see without these clouds. That's what mindfulness helps you do. Mindfulness means knowing what is happening in a moment, without adding anything extra to it. It is like looking at the sky and just seeing the clouds move, without saying, this is good or this is bad. Just watch. Just be there. When you are mindful, you don't jump to conclusions. You don't finish someone else's sentence in your head. You don't put a label on their face. Instead, you listen. You notice their words, their tone, the silence between the words. You watch their eyes, but you also watch your own mind reacting. Ah, you say silently, I am feeling annoyed, or I am feeling touched. That awareness is your doorway to wisdom. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a child throws a tantrum in a store. Most people say, what a spoiled child, or the mother must be careless. But a mindful person pauses. They notice their own reaction first. I'm feeling irritated, they say quietly inside. Then they become curious. Why did I react this way? Is it because I was raised to believe that children must always be silent? Is it because I feel out of control in public situations? And then, the mindful person may see the child as just a child, full of emotion, still learning. Not right, not wrong, just human. And maybe they look at the mother again and see the tired eyes, the trembling hand, the deep breath she's holding back. Then they understand this is not a scene to judge. This is a moment to be kind. This is the power of mindfulness. It makes you see again. It makes you feel the heartbeat of the world, not just your own. You ask me, Master, but what if someone is truly doing wrong? Shouldn't we judge? Yes, my child. Judgment has a place. But mindful judgment is different from blind reaction. Blind reaction says, he is bad. Mindful judgment says, this action caused harm. Why? What can be done? One comes from anger, the other from compassion and clarity. Do you see the difference? In mindfulness, we also learn the beauty of pausing. A pause can save you from a lifetime of regret. When someone offends you, don't strike back immediately. Not with words, not even in your thoughts. Just pause. Take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the fire in your chest. Then slowly ask yourself, what is happening in me right now? That question is gold. You may find that the person's words reminded you of someone from your past, someone who hurt you. And now, your mind is mixing two stories together. With mindfulness, you untangle them. You stop carrying old wounds into new people. Let me tell you a Zen story. A student once asked his master, how can I become wise? The master replied, watch your breath, watch your step, watch your mind. The student said, that's too simple. The master smiled, yes, too simple for the busy mind, but just right for the awake heart. Mindfulness also teaches you humility, because the more you observe your own mind, the more you realize how tricky it is. One moment it praises, the next it blames. One moment it loves, the next it hates. You start to see, I'm not always right. I don't always know. And in that not knowing, something softens inside you. You become more gentle, more forgiving. You begin to ask real questions. Why is this person acting this way? What is their pain? What are they trying to protect? Can I listen without the need to fix, blame, or label? These are not just questions. These are the steps into real understanding. When you practice mindfulness daily, whether during walking, eating, or even talking, you develop a kind of inner space. In that space, other people can enter safely. They feel seen. They feel heard. You're no longer reacting to them. You are responding with presence. And here's something else, my child. When you're truly mindful, you don't just understand others. You heal them. Your calm attention becomes medicine. Your silence becomes shelter. Your soft gaze tells them, I see you, and I am not here to hurt you. And sometimes, that's all a soul needs. Even the Buddha was misunderstood many times. People judged him harshly. Some called him a liar. Others tried to test him. But he did not rush to defend himself or attack them back. He stayed present. He listened. He spoke with clarity when needed, and with silence when silence was better. Can you do the same? You'll take time. Mindfulness is not built in one day. It grows like a tree, slowly, silently, but deeply, and one day, you will find that your judgments have softened. Your heart is more open, your words more thoughtful, your silence more peaceful. Then you will look at someone, not with the eyes of fear, but with the eyes of wisdom. You will not ask, what's wrong with them, but what is alive in them right now? And that shift will change everything. So walk gently, speak mindfully, listen with your whole being, and always remember, when you understand yourself with mindfulness, you begin to understand the world. That is the way, my child. That is the Zen way. From judgment to wisdom, letting go with insight. Sit down, take a breath. Let the world be quiet for a moment. You have listened to a long path of thoughts. You have walked with me, step by step, through many ideas about judging others. Now we are at the end, and maybe at the beginning of something deeper. You see, judging others, it's something we all do. Every day, we look at someone's clothes, their face, how they talk, how they walk. Our mind starts whispering, he is like this, or she must be that. We think we are right. We think we know. But truly, most of the time, we don't. Let me tell you a simple truth. You don't know what people carry in their hearts. You don't know how much pain a smile is hiding. You don't know how many battles someone has fought, silently. You don't know the weight behind a word, or the reason behind a mistake. Judgment is like trying to read a book by only looking at the cover. But wisdom comes when you start reading the pages. And wisdom, my dear friend, never rushes. It listens. It watches. It waits. When I was young, I once judged a man harshly. He was always angry, always shouting. I avoided him. One day, I sat near him at the river. We didn't speak, but I saw his hands, they were shaking. Then I saw his eyes, they were tired, full of storms. Later, I learned his story. He had lost his wife and child in a fire. Since then, he never smiled. And in that moment, I felt ashamed, not because I judged, but because I never cared to understand. From that day, I didn't stop judging, but I judged slower, with more kindness, with more patience. Buddhism teaches this. See clearly, but don't cling. You can see someone's behavior. Yes, you can notice what they do, but don't tie them to that action forever. People change. People grow. And sometimes, they just need one person to believe in them. Many people ask me, Master, is it wrong to judge? I say no. It is natural, but unconscious judgment is like walking in the dark. You may think you're going the right way, but you may fall or hurt someone on the path. So instead, bring a lamp. That lamp is your awareness. Ask yourself gently, why do I feel this way about this person? Am I seeing clearly or through my fears? What is the kindest interpretation I can give to their actions? This is not weakness. This is great strength. Only the strong can look at someone who hurt them and say, maybe they were hurting too. Let me tell you one last story before we end. There was a monk who was known for his deep calm. One day, a traveler shouted at him, called him useless. The monk simply bowed and smiled. Someone asked him, why didn't you reply? The monk said, if someone offers you a gift and you do not take it, to whom does the gift belong? The answer is clear. It stays with the one who gives it. That is what happens with harsh words and judgments. You don't have to take them, and you don't have to return them either. Let people say what they will. Let your peace be your answer. Now, to you who have listened till this end, you have shown patience. You have shown interest. That is rare. Most people listen to shout. Few listen to understand. But you are changing. You are growing. Now, dear one, before I go, I ask you something small. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you subscribed. Why wait? If this teaching touched your heart, if this story helped you in any way, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven.